Hello, welcome back to Math with Mr. Hengst. In today's lesson, we'll be going over how to multiply and divide integers. We've already gone over adding and subtracting, so these are our last operations dealing with positive and negatives. I'm sure after this video, we'll be able to get that down, and we'll be able to solve all types of operations when mixing positive and negative numbers. In this video, I'll be going over what multiplying and what dividing means again to refresh our minds, and it will help us get a better understanding of this part of the lesson. And then I'll also be giving a little trick that makes this process a lot easier. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Okay, so just as a quick review on multiplication, because it's been a while since we actually learned what multiplication is, I'm going to explain what this means. So we have 3 times 4. How we would say this in words, we would say is 3 groups of 4, right? So 3 times 4 means the same thing as having 3 groups of 4 things. So this was like money, we'd have 3 groups of $4. So as a visual, we will draw this out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we have 3 groups with 4 in each group. So this is going back to the basics of multiplying, where we have 4 in each group, so we just count them up now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's how we can solve this problem, right? I think at this point in 6th grade, we kind of have a better understanding of how to multiply. But I just wanted to go over what this means, because it will be very important whenever we get into negatives, right? So let's go into what happens when we have integers. Okay, so now in this problem, we got 3 times -2. Again, if we go back to saying this problem in words, it means that we have 3 groups of -2. So we can go ahead and draw 1 group of -2, 2 groups of -2, and 3 groups of -2. When we add this up, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 negatives. So our answer would be -6. Okay, now let's go into this if we have. Let's use this exact same problem, but we're going to make both of the numbers negative to go over what this means. So if you get lost in this, do not be afraid. We'll learn a trick to better understand this. I just wanted to I wanted to explain it in words, just so we have the understanding of this, because some people may get this right away when we hear it. So if we have 2 negatives, right? When we have a negative at the beginning, I'm going to use this as, what is a negative? The opposite, right? So in this, I'm going to put opposite of, right? And then we got opposite of 3 groups of -2. So again, when we did this, 3 groups of -2, we got -6 like we solved before. Now we need, since we have a negative at the beginning, we need to make the opposite of this. So what's the opposite of -6? +6. Okay, so now let's get into division again. Let's get into division, and then we'll go over the trick on how to make our lives a lot easier when multiplying and dividing integers. All right, so now I want to show you multiplication on a number line, just as another visual, and it will help us get a better understanding of multiplying negative numbers as well. Okay, so we'll start, I'll use a different color. So for 2 times 2, right, we understand that it means 2 groups of 2. So on a number line, we start at 0, all right, and we go 1, 2, 1, 2, right, and we're at +4, because we have 2 groups that are jumping 2 spaces each, right? Now if we change this, I'll use a different color, I'll use blue now. If we had 2 groups of -2, right? Again, we start at 0. 1 group of 2, 2 groups of -2, right? So we'd be at -4. Okay, I just wanted to show you this on a number line in case this gives you a better understanding of how to multiply positive and negative numbers, because I know sometimes the number line is a good visual, and plus number lines with negative numbers are new to us as well. So the exposure to it is always, I think it's always necessary, right? Actually, I'll do one more too. What if we had -2 times -2, right? Remember, this one means opposite of. So opposite of two groups of -2. So we already did our two groups of -2. What is the opposite of -4? +4, right? So the answer to -2 times -2 would get us +4. Okay, so now we got a division problem. We're going back to the basics again. So we got +15 divided by +5. So in this problem, what does division mean? Let's write it down into words. We're going to do 15 split into 5 equal groups. Right? So division means to split into groups, right? So we want to split 15 into 5 equal groups. So how do we do that? Let's draw a model out. So we need 15 dots, right? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And it says we need to split it in 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we just split it into 5 groups. How many dots are in each group? There are 3 in every single group. So our answer is 3. So when we split 15 into 5 groups, there will be 3 in each group. So now let's get into how we do this with negative numbers. All right. So here's our new problem. We got -10 divided by 2. So I'm going to start off by drawing my -10. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 10 negatives. We need to split it in 2 equal groups. Right? We got 1 here and 1 here. How many? What is in each group? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negatives are in each group. So our answer would be -5 for this one. Again, if both of these were negative, so instead of doing -10 divided by 2, we're going to do -10 divided by -2. All right? We have -10 divided by the opposite of -5. Okay? So we already did -10 divided by 2. What is the opposite of -5? It would be +5. So if both of the numbers are negative, our answer would be +5. So now that I gave you a little bit of an explanation, I totally understand if this is still confusing. Okay, I get it. I understand you. I'm with you, right? I understand this can be a little tricky to do, tricky to understand. It's a lot of steps, a lot of remembering things, right? So I'm going to go ahead and give you a trick that will make this whole process a lot easier, and it works with both multiplying and dividing. So let's get into this next part. All right, so this triangle right here is going to make your life so much easier when dealing with multiplying and dividing. This, let me make this clear, that this can only be used for multiplying and dividing integers. It does not work with adding or subtracting, so you cannot use this for all integer problems, all integer operations. Only for multiplication and division. And I'll write that here. Only multiply and division. Very important. Okay? So let me get into what I have here. Okay? So last year, our students called this Spicy Dorito Man. Okay, so I will write that down if that helps you remember. So this is called Spicy Dorito Man. So anytime you're dealing with a multiplication or division problem that has positive and negative numbers, I would go ahead and, good strategy, draw this at the top of your paper. Or you can have an index card, or you can dry erase on your desk, right? But you're gonna want this. So basically it's saying if you have, let me reword that, sorry. So this is how it'll be used. If you have, you're multiplying a positive and a negative number, what you're gonna do is cover the positive, cover the negative. Whatever's left is going to be what your problem is. So for example, if I had 10 divided by 5. 10 divided by negative 5, sorry. Okay, my 10 is positive, my 5 is negative. So my answer is going to be negative. If we're not looking at the sign, so what is 10 divided by 5? 10 divided by 5 is 2. Answer is negative 2. Okay, so if we had, let's try multiplication. If we had negative, let's do negative 5 times negative 6. Okay, 2 negatives. I'm gonna cover 1 negative up, 2 negatives up. What is left? A positive. Okay, so our answer is going to be positive now. Now let's see what 5 times 6 is. It's 30. Our sign is positive. Our answer is positive 30. Okay, so basically what we're doing is we're covering up signs that we see. Whatever is remaining will be our answer sign. Okay, then we just solve the operation like we're dealing with two positive numbers, just like we've been doing throughout school, right? For those of you who can't do this, don't know your math facts, right? You can use the multiplication chart. You can use models, right? Draw 5 groups of 6 and then just change the sign, right? So there's many ways you can approach it, but this will be a lifesaver for multiplying and dividing integers. So let's go through maybe a couple more problems just so y'all get a better understanding. If you already understand it, peace, I'm glad you got it, but I'll go over some practice problems using this, right? All right, so I got a couple of problems here, and I got my spicy Dorito man over here. So let's go ahead and solve these. So first we got positive 5 times negative 6. I'm gonna go over here. My 5 is positive, my 6 is negative. What do I have left? A negative. So my answer here is going to be negative. 5 times 6 is 30. Boom, my answer here, negative 30. All right, same numbers here, but both of them are negative. So I got negative 6 times negative 5. My 6 is negative, my 5 is negative. I'm left with a positive. Okay, so my answer is going to be positive. 6 times 5 is 30. So negative 6 times negative 5, positive 30. Okay, and I switched it again, made it division, right? So 30 divided by negative 5. Okay, my 30 is positive, my 5 is negative. My answer, what is left, is negative, right? So 30 divided by 5, negative 5, or 30 divided by 5 is 6. And we have our negative from using our spicy Dorito man. Last one, negative 30 divided by negative 5. I'm dealing with two negatives, right? So let's cover them both up. What do we have left? A positive. So 30 divided by 5 is positive 6. Okay, so again, spicy Dorito man for multiplying or dividing integers, right? Okay, so now that will be the end of multiplying and dividing integers, but this next part of the video is I'm going to just show you a couple things you may see throughout the rest of your schooling. I'm going to show you different ways you can multiply and divide. Not different ways, different signs, okay? Because we're not always going to see the X for multiplication and the bar with 2 dots for division. You'll be seeing these a lot of different ways throughout the year. So I'm gonna do a quick review, quick teach on how you may see these. So these are gonna be different ways you may see multiplication, and these are gonna be ways you see division, right? We're used to the X representing multiplication. We're used to seeing like the line with the dot above and below it for division. Throughout this year, throughout 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, high school, college, after college, right, you will see multiplication like this and you will see division like this, okay? So I'm just here to show you how you may see it so we're not lost when we get to a problem like this. So, all right, multiplication, we have our normal x. We get this, we know it, right? Next, I'm gonna go these two particularly. So 1, the 2 is out here, and the 3 is inside parentheses. And for this one, we have both the 2 and the 3 in parentheses. But we don't see a sign. We don't see multiplication. We don't see division. We don't see addition. We don't see subtracting. So I see a lot of students get here and be like, what do I do? We kind of just sit there and very confused. Okay, so rule of thumb, if you don't see a sign, right, is multiplication, especially when we see these parentheses. This means multiplication, 2 times 3. Same thing, even though now both numbers are in parentheses, still means 2 times 3, even though we don't have the X sign that we're used to. Last multiplication, we'll see this dot, okay? It looks like a little decimal, but it's raised a little bit, not all the way, it's raised in the middle. Okay, this means 2 times 3, okay? You will see this a lot, especially when you get into more complex math. You will see this dot, I guarantee you. So let's get to division. We have this division sign that we are used to, 10 divided by 2. This next one, we have the slash for division, okay? This is very common on the computers, mainly because we can't type this or this into the computer sometimes. So that slash means division, right? The last one, 10 over 2. This is something we've seen before. We've seen fractions, we've simplified fractions. That's basically what it is. But I see a lot of kids get confused because they see a fraction. They're like, what is my answer fraction? It could be, but most of the time, this is how we're going to write division problems, is 10 divided by 2, right? We know when we divide fractions, simplify fractions, we do top divided by bottom. Same thing here, but except now it's just a regular division problem. Okay, so if you want to pause the video and look at these are different ways that you could reference this if maybe you see something and you're like, I don't know what to do, right? I guarantee you that it's probably going to be a multiplication or division problem written a different way than we're used to. So I'll let you look at this.